All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. And today's topic, very controversial. I have the sister Tori Indigo on with us today.
Hello.
The topic is, should pedophiles like R. Kelly be forgiven? Now, I know this is a very controversial topic. I know it's very tough. I know, um, Tori, let me ask you this. I'm surprised because, again, I grew up very, I would say, protected. So when I started hearing cases of, as I got older, hearing cases of pedophilia and family member, young women and men being sexually assaulted and molested by immediate family members, I was shocked by that. And not only was I shocked by it, I think a lot of these pedophiles were not brought to justice. If that makes sense. They either were able to continue to stay around the family, the immediate family members. You'll see him or her at Thanksgiving or Christmas. It's kept a secret. So,
Absolutely.
but if you could tell everybody what you do and maybe your story and
Okay. Well, I'm a hypnotherapist. So basically, what I do is I help people to heal. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So I help people to heal subconscious issues. And unfortunately, sexual trauma is the cause of a lot of the subconscious issues that we have plaguing our community today. So I don't really have any background as far as sexual trauma that I know of, that I'm consciously aware of. But a lot of this stuff happens before we are even aware of it to some people.
Mhm.
Um, I know it plays a huge part in most of the people that I come in contact with who have the deeper issues, whether that's um, self esteem issues, whether that's self worth, any of that ties into a lot of that ties into sexual trauma, childhood sexual trauma, and a lot of it is in the family. A lot of it is still in the family. It's not usually talked about. Like sometimes it's talked about, but for the most part, what I'm noticing, that's something that's just swept under the rug. Like especially if it's the family member that's doing it, because nobody wants to out them or address them, or they just kind of sweep it under the rug.
Why is the issue never? I'm not going to say never. Why isn't it confronted when it's brought to someone's attention usually?
I think a lot of times it's because it's been in the family a lot longer than people realize. Like it's not typically just that member that people know about. It's one that was before that one, and one before that one, and one before that one. So it goes back to probably a very uncomfortable space for most people to even go to about certain family members. So they would just rather turn their heads and pretend like it doesn't happen.
Mhm. Now, Queen Lady Rose says a lot of black family members turn their head and hide it. When a predator keeps getting away with it, they eventually become monsters because it was never checked. Now, with the R. Kelly situation, from my understanding, this is something that's been going on for a while now, and that the victims' parents, instead of seeking justice, a lot of times they just seeked uh, what's the word I want to use? Settlement. So instead of seeking justice, they were content with just getting a settlement check and then blowing that money. Should people who do not turn in or hold pedophiles accountable and seek justice, should they be held as accountable as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. I think that's one of the biggest problems. I think anyone involved in child sexual trauma or child sexual abuse, period, should be held accountable, regardless if they are the one inflicting it or not. If you know about it and then you're pretty much an accomplice to it if you're not helping the child to get out of that situation, in my opinion. So,
What made you get into the field that you're in?
whew, that's a deep question.
Oh, go ahead.
I think and this may sound cliche, innately I'm a healer because I always want to help people to get to their joy, to get to their natural state of being, which is joy, which
Hmm.
is that childlike. being that's within all of us. But most people are blocked off from that because of different things they've experienced that make them feel like it's not safe to be innocent, to be flowy, to be transparent, to be whoever they came here to be. So it's a lot in the way of people getting to their natural selves. So I feel like getting to the problem first would be the best way to solve it, you know. You have to go straight to the root. And that means going to the subconscious mind. And hypnotherapy is the bridge to the subconscious mind. So
Now, as far as your service, like how's the process work? Like how does one tap into the subconscious mind? Like what do you do?
you have to go into a trance like state.
Okay.
It's basically when the brain waves slow down is when you are the most susceptible to taking in a new belief or reconstructing an old belief. You have to be in a certain brain wave. And so I have to walk the patient or the client, I like to use the word client, to
Okay.
a state of relaxation so that they can address those beliefs that are already in place or create the new ones that need to be put in place so that they can be more fulfilled.
Now, should pedophiles like R. Kelly be forgiven?
Okay, this is an open-ended question or yes and no?
No, no, it's open ended. Like,
Okay.
but maybe terms and conditions. Like what, like somebody like R. Kelly, if he wants to come back around the community or around, just around. Period. What should be the terms?
I would say pedophiles like pedophiles like R. Kelly, no. Because
Okay.
R. Kelly got some type of ego boost off of it. He got some type of dopamine rush off of this stuff, obviously. So, and that's not necessarily the problem in itself. It's the fact that he would not have stopped if he had not been caught. That's the problem with R. Kelly, in my opinion. You know, he didn't seek help for himself first. He continued to do it until his victims came out and spoke against him. That's the problem with him. And so, no, I don't think he should be forgiven. I don't think he should be trusted. But I do think he can heal. And I do think pedophilia is something that can be healed. But him in particular, no, I would say no.
So, what do you do with the likes of R. Kelly,
The next R. Kelly.
or just in general? Just like, what do you do with the likes of R. Kelly? Like,
I talk. I think we should talk about it. I think pedophilia should be more talked about. It's like this taboo topic that nobody wants to discuss, which is what's making it so big and prominent in the world. It's huge. It's a huge deal. I think sex trafficking is like bigger than drug trafficking, and
mm-hmm.
so I think it should be exposed. I think it needs to be talked about, and I don't think it should be something that people are allowed to just pretend like it's not there because it's been around forever. And so the next person who is something like R. Kelly, they can, I think, hopefully, they can have places to go. They can have people to go to that won't necessarily automatically condemn them. Because I think that's the problem with most pedophiles. They don't want to come out because they don't want to be condemned. They don't want to be, shunned upon. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be shamed. And I think we have a long way before we get to that place where we can not react to them in that way. But I do think we have to get there if we really want to cure pedophilia.
Okay. Now, Falcon Black says Black women were giving him their kids, which is true. Now, I know often in a big topic lately has been toxic masculinity. In situations like this, do you think toxic femininity enables people like R. Kelly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because a lot of those girls, they knew what they were doing. And I hate to say that like that.
Well, at least you're being honest, because some of these people, they
Yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah. They knew what they were doing, and their parents knew what they were doing. I think toxic femininity has to do with, pretty much abusing your sexual energy
Mhm.
and using it in ways that you shouldn't be using it to get whatever you need done, egotistically wise. Um, Back to that question you asked me about the parents
Go
that
ahead.
were on board
Go ahead.
with R. Kelly and their children. I feel like that's where it started at. That's what made those girls comfortable enough to even be in that situation, because that's not something that the average young girl would be okay with doing on a constant basis. you know, you have to already be conditioned for that type of lifestyle. So a lot of times those girls was already pre-exposed to sex prematurely. So, you know, could have been in the family already, could have been the parent already, could have been the mother already. A lot of times it's the mothers too. People don't talk about women being pedophiles, but women are just as much pedophiles as men are. That's just
Repeat that again. What you just said. That's important because people don't want to talk about that.
oh yeah, a lot of women are pedophiles, and it's never addressed. You can look at a movie on Lifetime and see a teacher sleeping with a young boy, and it'd be like some type of twisted romance. Like, what the hell? If this was a man in that teacher position and this was a girl at that school, that would be totally out of line for that movie to be shown in that light. But and also, a lot of the men that I run across, they had their first sexual experience with women that were way older, babysitters, people, women in the family, and this is never talked about, ever. And I guess it's because the men or the males never felt like it was a punishment, but it's still doing something to your mind in the way that you think about sexuality. So
Now, the men that you run into who might have lost their virginity to older women, have they been damaged in some type of way? Like, and how, if they have?
hmm I don't know. I honestly don't know, because they never seem to talk about it as if they were a victim,
Right.
which is, I guess that's something I'm just gonna have to really explore later on in my practice, because I do want to know
Mhm.
if that does have an effect on their idea of sex, which I'm sure it does. I just don't know which way they go with it.
Have you been keeping up with the Jussie Juicy Smollett situation? Have you been keeping up with that?
Not really.
You haven't? It's been on everywhere.
I know. So I get what happened. I know it was like a scam. I
Uh-huh.
don't understand the point. Like, why? What was the point?
Yeah, okay. So do you think it's deeper than, because from my understanding, they're saying that he, I guess, carried this out or plotted this out because he felt as if he wasn't getting paid enough for his role on Empire. Do you think it's a deeper issue than that?
Coming from him?
Yeah.
Could be. I don't know for sure, but it could be. You always have to look at that. It might be something stemming from something deeper. Could
Hmm.
have been a cry out for attention due to something deeper that he was wanting attention about, but I just don't think he got the attention that he was looking to get. So he, I don't know.
Yeah, somebody says not deep at all, just weird.
It is. It is. It's like, why would you? I can't find a reason for that. I
Hmm.
really can't. I mean, other than publicity, but it's a million things you could do for publicity. Why do?
Yeah.
So that don't make sense to me.
Mhm. So since we're talking about pedophilia and rape, like, what are your thoughts on the Me Too movement?
The what?
Are you familiar with the Me Too movement?
I'm not.
You're not. What do you? I mean, do you like?
Pop culture.
How do you get? Well, it's not really. Well, I guess you could say it's pop culture, but I mean, it's everywhere.
The Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, it's. I mean, it's been somewhat hijacked by. It's been hijacked by white women, but the allegedly, supposedly, the motive or the purpose of it was to hold men accountable for rape or sexual abuse or sexual assault. It was started by a black woman, but white women have pretty much taken it over. Um, but at the same time, women who lie about being raped, you know, they don't hold them accountable, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So Me Too is basically saying he did this to me. He did this to me too, or is this like?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Like it's called Me Too. Yeah, exactly. Like, were you assaulted? Yes. Were you assaulted? Yes. So Me Too, as far as women. But I think a lot of times what happens, you have issues or instances of women who are lying or exaggerating, and
Yeah.
they completely back them up. And then it comes out to be a lie and there's no apology or anything.
Right. See, I think that with that being said, I think that's something that should be a given. If you're not coming out, if you weren't addressing it before this movement, then you probably shouldn't be like, I don't know if I would trust something like that. because I don't know. It's always this thing where you're embarrassed to talk about the fact that you were raped, and I get that. I get that it's embarrassing, but that's the thing that we have to really change more so than this whole Me Too movement. Let's talk about the fact that a lot of women have been raped. If that is the Me Too movement, then okay, I'm on board with it. But not just coming out because the next woman came out. Oh, wait, I guess that is that it? Because that's what it sounds like it could be, And if that's it, then okay, I get that. That makes sense to me, you know. But on an open case that's already open, it's like.
Somebody says you look like a Left Eye. Do you get that a lot?
Yeah, I get that all the time. I look at myself and be like, "Oh my God, that's weird."
Yeah, you do look like you do look like a Left Eye.
Put me
That's a compliment.
Together.
That's a Left Eye is beautiful. That's a compliment.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's a compliment.
But I would definitely have to look more into the Me Too.
I'm surprised you don't. I mean, in your field, I'm surprised you don't know what the Me Too movement is.
Because I don't really center what I do around sexual trauma. I want to emphasize on it because I know that it's a bigger issue than we are willing to accept at this point.
What do you run into, like dealing with sexual trauma? Like what do you like? Give me an example of just kind of what you see or not see. You know what I mean? Not physically see, but hear, I guess.
Having low self-esteem, being a chronic procrastinator, having some type of phobia that other people would consider to be ridiculous, like not being able to drive through traffic because you are anxiety ridden. Anxiety is a huge part of what I do. Anxiety is huge. Stress, depression, anything that is debilitating and blocking you from behaving and conducting yourself like a quote unquote normal human being is mainly the things that I focus on. And I think a lot of everything I just named is due to some form of trauma. And like I said, a lot of that was sexual, which is harder to get out of people for some reason,
When you say it's harder to get out of people, what do you mean?
Like it's harder for people. If I'm talking to a person and we're trying to figure out the root of their issues as far as what they think about themselves and their life and why can't they get past certain things like an addiction, for example. You'll hear all of the reasons for why this addiction came into place on top of, aside from the biggest issue, which would typically lead back to pedophilia or sexual trauma. But that's something that people don't really want to address, especially if they still are in contact with the person or if they still close to the person, or if they still love the person. That's a huge deal. People never want to talk about that. But, that's something that has to be said and talked about to get past. So
now I know you started a podcast. What made you want to really go in and start a podcast?
I actually had a friend of mine tell me that I should start a podcast because I do videos a lot, but they don't have time to watch the videos because they're at work. And I was just thinking, a podcast would be better for me because I can get more passionate on a podcast than I feel like I can on a video. On a video, being a woman, I feel like I need to look a certain way, conduct myself a certain way. On a podcast, I feel like I have more freedom.
Okay, because no one can see you. That's
one reason, yes. And I have more time. Like, if I'm just out going to the store, I can start a podcast, It's more convenient.
More convenient?
Yeah.
When do you shoot or run your podcast? When you broadcast?
Every day.
Every day? Okay.
Yes, and I want to make it time specific between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. every day.
Where in the States are you?
I'm in Arkansas, but I'm moving to Atlanta within the next month.
Okay. All right. Somebody was asking.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking what part of, Arkansas. Little Rock. I remember when they had that show on HBO, Banging in Little Rock. You ever seen that?
I didn't think they did anything as far as television in Arkansas, but
are you really from Arkansas?
I've been here since I was 4.
Okay, all right. So since you've been in Arkansas since you were 4, are you prepared for Atlanta?
Yes, I lived in Atlanta last year.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Well,
came
what?
back here to give birth, and I ended up staying longer than I planned.
Okay. So so you had your kid in Atlanta.
I had my kid here in Arkansas, but I was pregnant while I was in Atlanta. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. So, I mean, just as far as ending, sexual trauma in the Black community, what needs to be done? Like, what can we do?
We can talk about it. That's the first step. That's all I have right now. And I
Mhm.
know, so much more needs to be done in that. As a hypnotherapist, I feel like I can do much more than that. But for the people on a mass level, I feel like it has to be talked about. And it has to be addressed and not from a state of you are a terrible, disgusting human being, and it can't always be looked at like I'm
Uh,
sorry.
uh,
It's
uh,
hard. It's
that,
hard.
but some are. I mean, R.
Some
Kelly's a
are.
terrible,
It is.
disgusting human being.
It is. It is. And I'm not saying that they are not. I'm saying I know a lot of pedophiles are terrible people. They are terrible people. But a lot of times they happen to them. And pedophilia is something that typically happens in the brain when you have been exposed to sex prematurely. So it's like a disease more so than and a disease has to be cured in a different type of way. It can't just be talked about without being cured and expected to go away.
Mhm. Now, as far as somebody in the chat room says, stop forgiving bad behavior. Now, I noticed just consistent across the board in the black community, we forgive bad behavior. What are your thoughts on that?
Um,
Just in general, just everything. Like, I
okay.
mean, this is the stuff we allow to take place in the black community. I mean, just from sexual abuse, dope and drug and dealing and
I
just
think
stuff we celebrate, you know.
it has to be stopped. It has to be stopped. All of it. But what I think people are failing to realize is it can't be stopped with force, like they trying to do. Like stop killing each other. Like no, that's not gonna happen. Like it doesn't happen like that. I wish it did, because then it would be easier. But it doesn't. It has to be. As hard as this is for people to understand, healing has to be done through love. That is the only way to heal a situation.
When you say love, like go into detail about what type of love.
Love is basically nurturance, and from this standpoint, it's not saying aiding it and letting it happen. It's understanding it so that you can get it out rather than trying to forcefully get it out because that don't work. It's deep, and it's if it's something that's deep that's happened, you can't force it to get out. Like that's some superficial shit. Depth has to be understood, like the depth behind why we kill each other, the depth behind why there's so much pedophilia in the black community, the depth behind why we are in a poverty mind state. It's so many different things, but it can't be just, oh, we got to do better. I feel like we've been doing that. We've been doing that. We've been saying that, but nothing has happened. So I think it's time to take a different approach. And not to say that you can't be angry. Hell yeah, you got the right to be angry. Especially if somebody didn't kill your child. Especially if your child has been raped. You have the right to be angry. But you have to understand if you want to be a part of this healing process for generations to come, you have to really get to the root of the issue for why it's happening. Then try to address it.
Should pedophiles be castrated? Like, what are your thoughts? I know in some places they're pushing for that, advocating for that. Should a pedophile be castrated? Like somebody like R. Kelly, should he be castrated?
Oh, if this world was mine,
Go ahead.
if this world was mine, and I would.
Nas. Have you heard that song by Nas?
If I rule the world, which
Yeah.
one? Yes.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I got the lyrics all messed up. My bad. Yeah, that song. Okay.
Same concept.
Same
But
concept. Same concept.
yeah, yeah, I would. I would. But the God that dwells within all of us don't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to get on board for how that God works.
Okay. See what else we got here in the chat room. Guys, I might do a call in. I might let one of you guys come on. Let's see here.
I feel like they're gonna be mad at me because I
Why
can't.
would they be mad at you? I mean,
Because I'm not coming from a space of anger. I can't do that.
Someone says there is a lot of pedophilia in all communities. Yes, I agree.
Yes, from the highest to the lowest to the every economic system, every racial system, every cultural system. Yes, it's there.
Let's see here. Stop beating yourself. Stop beating up yourself for what someone else has done to you before are able to defend yourself. Be about making other people live lives better, especially your own people.
And it's not that easy, especially if it was somebody you love and trusted, because that's going to condition your mind to think love and trust is not okay. So I know I sound like I'm never on one side because I don't look at things. I think everything has to have a specific custom made way to fix it. You know, there's no cookie cutter way to fix this type of stuff.
See what else we got here on the chat in the chat room. Let's see. The reason Black women and men on here on YouTube argue is because they have not fulfilled their desires. What are your thoughts on that?
Because they haven't what?
Fulfilled their desires.
Absolutely. That's the problem behind most every negative emotion is the fact that a person is not living their purpose. So it's important to find your purpose and what you're here to do so you don't have to worry about the next human being and what they got going on and trying to control stuff and being egotistical, angry, you know, all that leads back to you not really knowing who you are and what you're here to do.
There we go. There we go. What we'll do, if you could shout out your podcast and how people get in contact with you and where they can find you, you know, guys, do you have a YouTube page?
I do. I have a YouTube channel. I have a podcast. I have Facebook, and I talk about all these things on all of my platforms. My name is Tori Indigo on YouTube. It's Tori Indigo on my podcast, which is on Anchor, and it's Tori Indigo on Facebook. So, but my iPad is about to die, and my child took my charger.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. We're gonna close out anyway. Anything else you'd like to share in closing? And guys, make sure you follow her on YouTube and social media, Tori Indigo. I'll put it in the chat room. Anything else you'd like to share in closing?
Yes, you can't force people to be who you need them to be or to not be who you need them to be. You can only try to find understanding. And I know, and that's the same with pedophilia. That's the same with sexual trauma. I think we have to understand why these people are the way that they are rather than just, you know, some of them do need their ass whooped on top of being understood. But
and castrated. Some of them, I think it's a case by case basis. But you know, when I hear stories of adult men,
yes,
assaulting kids, yeah, he needs to be castrated.
Yep, off with his head. Like
right, exactly.
That's just me personally. So you know, I'm not saying that they don't need punishment. I'm just saying for the collective, for this issue and as a whole, it has to be understood rather than just reacted to. And I think we get into the space where we have to start understanding this if we really want to get rid of it, because it's terrible at this point.
Yeah, let me read this last statement real quick, then I'll let you go. Queen Sheba, I don't know if she's trolling or this is she's being sincere. She says, "Greetings, brother. I speak from experience, and I can say today I was molested by older first cousin. I was raped from age 8 until 16. I blocked it out for years, and at the age of 25, I shot him."
He deserved to be shot.
Okay, there you go. Okay. No, she said she's being honest. Okay, I just you know not to
yeah,
not minimize that. But you gotta understand, just people in YouTube and my chat room sometimes troll. So you know, I just wanted to make sure. So
I agree with her. If she was my friend, I would have been like, "Girl, thank you. I'm glad you did that." So yeah.
Oh, the online store. Listen, I'm gonna come back on, but the online store with the bag, I forgot to bring it downstairs, is Tomlini, TOMLINI, Tomlini.com. That's where the bags are. So, but sister, I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me.
You're more than welcome to come on at any time. Everyone, make sure you go to Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Again, Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Until next time, family, Dynasty Search for Uhuru. Peace.